Bruce Cassidy says that he feels VGK can get back in the winner's circle tonight in the now best of five. The series shifts to Minnesota for game number 3. Our preview comes your way next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, happy NFL Draft Day to all who celebrate. Tony Gradasco, longtime sportscaster, marketing consultant, and host in the Believe in Vegas podcast. Chris Golick, owner of Silver State Cards and Sports, and the collectibles editor of the Hockey News. Coming up ahead, our concern level for VGK and locks and predictions. And let's get into things. You think there might be a better VGK team that we will see tonight. VGK looks to rebound after that Tuesday blowout loss, 5-2. Yeah, I said it. There was a blowout loss because they were down 4-0. Golden Knights, they gave away the puck 15 times in that game. Turnovers that definitely plagued the VGK. They need to protect the puck tonight. Bruce Cassidy still feels good about the Golden Knights. I felt the second period, if you're going to take any momentum, go back and watch the film from the second period. It was something like 15 minutes, the drought for Minnesota there, the drought without a shot on goal for the Wild.
Correctable, fixable, less is more. Didn't hate the defense, not changing the way we play. Those were my takeaways from listening to Coach Cassidy talking during yesterday's media availability. So it seems like the Golden Knights aren't panicking by any means. It's not like they're going to go out there and change their scheme. They're not going to go out there and completely change the system or anything like that. These were self-inflicted wounds, and it got to the point where you weren't going to climb that hill. We saw the Minnesota Wild playing their prevent defense. We saw the Golden Knights getting a little bit of room out there to maybe get some penetration, but they couldn't necessarily get through the last wave of defense as the Minnesota Wild basically had 3 players in front of their goaltender and not a lot of room to make those passes inside. So the Golden Knights, of course, need to have a better, not necessarily a better start. The first 5 minutes was good. We talked about that. Coach Cassidy mentioned that as well. Then it went downhill from there. I guess the major concern coming into this game is how much are they thinking about their mistakes in the last game? Are they playing this game not to make mistakes? Are they playing this game not to lose early on? You know, the Minnesota Wild, they're going to come out, shut out like a cannon for the first 6, 7, 8 minutes of the game. So I think that's the first key to the game is the Golden Knights surviving the initial push from the Minnesota Wild.
I thought Minnesota had outplayed VGK in every aspect. They kept the Golden Knights to the outside, but yet the Golden Knights still had 32 shots on net in that game. And the power play opportunities, there are 2 for each side. VGK scoring twice in the series. They need to get Minnesota to commit, right? A penalty or 2 there. The Golden Knights not able to get a power play opportunity on Tuesday, and VGK also, they improved in the dot. This is something that Cassidy had spoke about. They won faceoffs after losing 39-26, 60% thereabouts for Minnesota in the first game. Second game, VGK 30-21, and we know when they win faceoffs, good things happen, of course, in the offensive end. We saw what Thomas Hertl did in game number 1, finishing off his own faceoff, his own draw win, scoring the goal, also winning a faceoff, getting the puck to Dorofeev. I think that's going to be more important as this series continues. You said that Minnesota played a prevent defense. I thought they were worn out at the end of the second period.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of what playing a prevent defense does, right? You're allowing the other team an opportunity to gain an entry on the blue line because you're not focused on attacking the transition game like you normally would. So you're going to play a lot more defense like that. Face-offs, good observation. The Golden Knights were pretty dangerous from the right face-off circle in having a left-handed shot So a lot of times you can line up your players. What's the word I'm looking for? Where you have one player on each side of the dot, and you have your two defense back a little bit. And then there's another way you can line up. You give up having a player on the boards farthest away from the net, and you put a player basically halfway between the circle where the center would be and where the winger would be. They're kind of at the top right there. And then a lot of times you get that puck back from a right-handed person taking a face-off, and the lefty gets a quick shot off. Dorofeev and Brett Howden had two dynamite chances right off face-off. So if Jack can, of course, do a little bit better in the face-off circle, getting those pucks back to those two, you could see a quick shot off of a face-off. So I definitely like that perspective.
For VGK, the key is getting the lead early. Dominant first 5 minutes in game number 2. VGK has to finish in that sort of scenario, because now it's even more important because they could take the crowd effectively out of it there in Minnesota tonight.
Yeah, like I said, first 7-8 minutes of the game, Minnesota's going to be tough. The crowd's going to be amped up. It's 1-1. Essentially, the Wild have the advantage in the series. The sportsbooks don't agree with that. We'll talk about that in the second segment, but Minnesota has the advantage right now. They have 3 home games. If they take care of business at home, the series is over. I don't think
That's the
it's going to
5.
happen, but it's just how it works in a 7-game series right there. The Golden Knights are a minus 150 tonight, which I think that's a little bit strong.
That's steep. That's steep.
It's steep, but again, it's not. So the sports books have an opinion about their game, and then the opinion is quickly erased once the money starts coming in. Then it becomes managing the pool. And don't get me wrong, the books do like to have an opinion sometimes, even when all the money does come in lopsided. They also keep their line. Like a lot of books don't put themselves on an island when it comes to pools, and now with the NHL playoffs, the pools get a little bit bigger at least. But minus 150 definitely feels a little bit steep. I am certainly with you on that.
Did you hear what Cassidy said about playing the game against the boards versus playing in the middle of the ice? Because I think, again, to me, yes, VGK turnovers, but a lot of those turnovers to me might have been the result of some added pressure by Minnesota. And we're still going to see this happening in the series in game 3.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe I didn't give enough respect to the Wild and Hines in yesterday's show, saying they didn't adjust a whole lot and everything. And I mean, the Golden Knights played an uncharacteristically bad game at managing the puck. Why did that happen? They just all decided to play like garbage? I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think the Wild certainly do get some more respect in that regard. And that, of course, does start with the coach and John Hines. So credit Hines, whether it was on purpose or not, but credit whatever adjustment that was made to at least, of course, have the outcome that it did. A couple news and notes I'm curious. Nick Hague, he's been a menace this series. Had a nice cross-check on Hartman game 1, and then he cold-cocked Kirill Kaprizov twice yesterday. I think he flopped like LeBron on the second one, the way he dropped, but he still got him pretty good. He tagged him, and then there's another video making the rounds right now where Dorofeev, I forgot who was on. It looked like a sloof. It didn't. It's not.
I thought it was Riley Smith. No,
I think it was Dorofeev. Maybe it was Riley Smith. I'm pretty sure. Either way,
it was on Matt Boldy, and I was going to talk about that because things are getting testy. And
go ahead. I'll find it. See if it was Dorofeev or Smith. Go ahead if you got it.
Yeah, no, we could definitely see a melee tonight. So again, would not be surprised.
Well, there will be a melee no matter what.
Yeah, because it's getting testy now, and Hague has been, I guess, villain number 1. Hartman, of course, with the cross-check, as you mentioned. Kaprizov, the punch in the face and the scrum. I don't care if he flopped. He got popped pretty good in the face.
He got popped, yeah, but it wasn't that bad.
It was a cheap shot, bro.
It wasn't that bad. It was a scrum. It's a scrum near, what was it, the third period in a game where the home team is losing. That's going to happen. Like, for everyone making it seem like it's a dirty play, it's a scrum. This is exactly what happens when there's a scrum. People start punching each other. That's Dorofeev, definitely. That's Dorofeev.
Oh, it's Dorofeev that did it. Okay.
And so when he's going in there,
that's a slow fight.
The other player is initiating. It was on Eriksson Ek too. It was on Eriksson Ek.
I was wrong on both accounts. Okay.
The other player is Eriksson Ek is kind of initiating the contact. Dorofeev maybe accidentally on purpose kind of follows through. There's not going to be anything from player safety or anything like that.
No. But it's gonna add to.
No, it's gonna boil over into the series, and I think you will see some retribution today or on Saturday. It doesn't necessarily have to happen today, but you're going to see some good. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Wild brought the fight to the Golden Knights tonight, as far as
No
after
doubt.
whistles, after
They're
just
going to
trying
get
to
the
get them
crowd
off their
into it.
game.
Yeah, get the crowd into it there. They should bring out the harmonicas for the anthem. They'd really get fired up
Yeah,
there.
that's really getting some news right now, huh?
It's not very good either. So I'm surprised that the Kings players actually like it. They said
Well,
it
the
gets them
Oilers aren't
fired
very
up.
good either right now, so we'll see if they can figure it out when
Anything
that
can
series
get
comes
you
back to
fired up.
Edmonton.
Who can contain the Wild's top line? That's the biggest key in this series moving forward in the best of 5.
It's a simple answer, and it's not going to make Golden Knight fans feel good, but it's Pietrangelo and Noah Hannafin. That's the shutdown pairing that needs to be at their very best right now. If Pietrangelo and Hannafin aren't taking care of business, then that's going to be a concern. And by the way, Pietrangelo, and I'll certainly say I've dogged him a lot, mainly when he's been injured, and he's been injured most of the season, I think. But there's one player on the Golden Knights that are a +2. Everyone else is +1 or worse, and Pietrangelo is actually a +2. Noah Hannafin's a +1, along with Nick Waugh, Nick Hague, Keegan Colasar, and then every player after that is even or a minus, starting with Theodore -5, McNabb -4. And then here's the concern: Mark Stone, Jack Eichel -3. So you said who's going to contain that top line?
Not the top line of VGK. Yeah.
What's that?
Not the top line of VGK.
Well, I really want to see Pietrangelo and Hannafin matching up as much as possible. And then I haven't looked at the shift charts, but I really think this is a spot where whatever the fourth line is going to be tonight, whether it's Howden, Waugh, Colasar, or Barbashev, Waugh, Colasar, they need to be out there matching up against that top line and wearing them down, because that's where the rolling 4 lines will benefit the Golden Knights and get the Golden Knights top line away from their top line, so the Golden Knights top line can go after the third line of the Minnesota Wild.
Coming up next, what is our concern level for the rest of this series, the best of 5? We talk about that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. It is winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. That's right. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on point spreads, on money lines, on player props, and much, much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. That is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick reporting live at times from Las Vegas, at least initially. Thank you so much for making us your first listen each and every day.
You just want me to go back to Louisiana.
I liked it on the street corner, man. That was the best. Next time, we want, in addition to all those sound effects, what was the better of the two anthems? The bongo guy in Nashville or the harmonicats in LA? Remember the bongo guy?
No.
And Trevor Zegras in the post game goes, yeah, we got off to a slow start because of the bongo guy. The guy sings the anthem while he's playing the bongos. It's amazing. That's why VGK needs to mix up its anthem singers. Oh, it's not WGF. That's tomorrow, the Friday. So we'll have all of our comments.
Now you're dogging Golden Pipes there. That's going to help. Good job, bro.
I'm concerned because Kirill the Thrill is starting to catch fire right now. Really is. VGK, I don't know what they're going to do to stop the momentum of the Minnesota top line. I am very concerned. Matt Boldy with 3 goals in 2 games. The Wild manhandled the Golden Knights in Game 2. And VGK's top line has yet to produce. Cassidy says, it's just a couple of games. Well, already the tone has been set by the Wild, and I'm extremely concerned about the outcome of this series right now.
Minnesota Wild have 15 points as far as scoring points from players. Kaprizov and Boldy are 9 of them. So those two are running wild. Even Joel Eriksson, who is on that line, doesn't even have a point, oddly enough. So we'll see what happens there. Looking on the Golden Knights side right now, 14 points collectively. Tomas Hertl with 3 of them, and then a lot of 2s for Howden, Sod, Pietrangelo, and Hannafin. So Pietrangelo and Hannafin, those names are coming up a lot in today's show right now, and that's telling me about the importance. Concern level, this is where you look to the sports books and
Here's
you
where
see
you
what their
go. Is
concern
this
level
the
is.
point where you go, relax, relax?
No, I'm not going to say relax, but I'm going
Okay.
to say that if the sports books are saying the Golden Knights are minus 230 to advance in this series, I mean, yes, this is fueled by the pool largely. I get that, and the liability. I get that. But if the sports books were concerned about the liability, this line would shift much closer to the Wild side, especially the Wild side that's bet. Shift much closer to the Wild's betting side if the books felt that the Wild were going to advance here right now. So follow the money, I guess. Follow follow the money. The sports books weren't built on a lot of plus 195 bets coming in on a daily basis. That doesn't mean the Wild are going to lose this series by any means, but follow the money. This is a good Vegas angle for all of us who have been, betting and stuff and all of that. Something that the rest of the country is just kind of starting to catch up on. But if minus 230 is where the sports books think, and this is locally, I'm assuming all the local and national books are probably within 20 cents of each other. I don't think anyone has the Wild as a favorite or even a short dog like in the minus 120, 130 range. So that for me right there tells me what I need to know. And again, coach versus coach. When it comes down to the adjustments, I think Cassidy will still come out on top, even though he was on the wrong side of that on Tuesday's game.
Losing a lot of puck battles for VGK, and the defense not playing to its identity. And also, the fourth line really does need to play to its identity as well. I think those are some key things that we need to look for in the third game and moving forward.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And as far as the average, and then this is a 2-game, very small sample size, of course. Mark Stone leads the Golden Knights forwards in average time on ice at 7:16, Eichel 16:50, William Karlsson 15:40. Now you go down. Keegan Colasar 12:40, Nicholas Waugh 13, Brett Howden, who's finding a way to impose his will on the game at 13:40. So you got a lot of balance right now. Shifting to the Minnesota Wild side, this is going to be a lot different. Brock, forget the defense. I'm not worried about the defense, but Matt Boldy, 21:40, Kaprizov, 20:56, Eriksson Ek, 20:10. Zuccarello 16:46. So now we're getting into the Mark Stone, Jack Eichel territory there. So they have 3 forwards averaging more than 20 minutes of ice time per game. Brock Faber, a youngster defenseman, averaging 27:09 on ice. 27:09, comparing to Noah Hannafin, 22:52. So the Wild are shortening the bench before the game starts. That's what I'm trying to get to right now. They are shortening the bench before the game starts.
Good point.
Sustainable. Love that word here in Vegas. Love that word here in Vegas. Is that going to keep going? So let's compare this to the regular season with the Minnesota Wild. I'm kind of curious. Brock Faber averaged 25:31 during the regular season.
Man,
He's only playing 2 more minutes a game. Kaprizov, 22 minutes. Boldy, 20:17. So these are forwards averaging greater than 20 minutes of ice time. Now at the playoffs, a little more intense, a little heavier checking game. Battles are a little tougher. Hopefully, you mentioned the board battles and everything. I just don't know if the Wild can continue. Maybe for a 7-game series, they can. Is this the recipe for success for a 2-month tournament for the Stanley Cup? I don't know if that's going to be good. We've seen the Oilers come up short, and I don't know how the Florida Panthers managed their ice time last year. We know the Golden Knights had things a little more flatter compared to what they're doing right now when it comes to managing ice time. So as the series progresses, I think it shifts in the Golden Knights' favor, but going down 2-1, that could be a concern if that does happen. I don't know if it's going to, but that could be a concern.
Jack Eichel, we are both wondering if he is still injured, and he's showing some effects of something. Again, the Four Nations just took a lot out of a lot of these players. You saw Chris Kreider said he was injured in Four Nations. He played the rest of the season, but was not himself. Like a lot of players, it's really affected a ton of players, long-lasting effects. And Eichel right now just does not seem right. What are your thoughts?
No, that's a great perspective. I was listening to the NHL Network the other day. They made a good point about Logan Thompson and Alex Ovechkin in the Washington Capitals. How many players did the Washington Capitals have in the Four Nations? It rhymes with Eero.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah, they had
Not
none.
one player in the Four Nations. So again, we got a
Boy,
long way to
LT
go.
stood on his head last night
LT
too.
was
My
great
goodness.
last night. That made me smile. I was happy to see that. He was funny in the post game too. He's like, "Yeah, we got the 2 points," and Dylan Strom was like, "Bro, no, it's playoffs." And then there was a crazy save like off the post. It wasn't really a save. It bounced off the post, and he was kind of selling out. And they asked him about it. He's like, "Yeah, I got lucky. I almost knocked it in." So Logan is in a fine postseason form, in the crease and at the microphone right now. But where I'm going with this is if, and again, we got 2 months before this is even going to happen, but if the Capitals do wind up winning a Stanley Cup, there's gonna be a lot of questions about the Four Nations, more than there already are. Like, wait a minute here. As fun as this was, there's one team in the playoffs that had 0 players. I don't know if any other teams had 0 visibility, but there's one team that had 0 visibility in the Four Nations, and it was the Washington Capitals. And by the way, they went through and they won the Stanley Cup with ease. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's certainly a talking point. It's definitely a talking point.
Bro, Mark Stone, man, my concern levels through the roof. Yeah, exactly. I'm really concerned about Stone. Maybe he's starting to wear down in
His
the
physical
playoffs.
game is sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I say his physical game, I think, has been okay. He's been throwing his body around a lot out there. Okay, so here's some interesting things here. Regular season average time on ice for 24-25, and we'll get Mark Stone here in a second. Eichel 2032, Mark Stone 19-15, Tomas Hertl 17 minutes 7 seconds. Shifting to the playoffs, Mark Stone 17-16, Jack Eichel 16-50. So there's a story here, and someone can go after this if they want. I barely write VGK stuff anymore, so if anyone is watching, a lot of people do watch, but if anyone's watching, there's a story here when you look at the minutes on at the time on ice. What world exists where you're going to take your team's leading scorer, their most impactful player when it matters the most, in Jack Eichel, regular season, 2 points on the line. Let's go, team, go. We got the Pacific. Okay, cool. Now here come the playoffs. All right, Jack, we're going to tone you down a little bit. We're going to make no. Something's going on here. And again, Eichel looks okay out there. He doesn't look great. He doesn't look bad by any means, but the story is in the stats, and the stats dictate that they're managing a workload right there. They are managing his workload. And is this all of a sudden the game where, wait a minute, it's a swing game? It's an odd number. The odd number of games from game 3 and on are pivotal, whatever the stupid word is.
Pivotal.
Very important, what Tony said. Very important. And maybe if Eichel all of a sudden gets 21 minutes of ice time, maybe it was simply a little bit of a fatigue management thing. But if Eichel's only out there 17, 18 minutes, it's like a 1-goal game. And whatever side the Golden Knights come out on, that tells you even more that something's going on. And same could be said about Mark Stone. You see it more in Mark Stone, but Mark Stone always looks like he's laboring. That's just how his body is, numerous back surgeries, and he gets through it, and he finds a way to be impactful on the game. Eichel, I think, is finding smaller ways to be impactful. He's getting some time and space on the ice, not nearly the amount he's able to create in the regular season. And
could this be part of the strategy by Bruce Cassidy, because he knows it could be a long and grueling series, to keep increasing their minutes?
Fair question. So let's look when the formula worked and the stars completely aligned in the 22-23 postseason. Alex Pietrangelo 23-25, Jack Eichel 18-59, Mark Stone 18-54. Comparing that to the current postseason, again, 2 games, small sample size, 1 close game, 1 not so close game. Jack Eichel 16-50, Mark Stone 17-16. So basically both 90 seconds and 2 minutes less of ice time. And with the Golden Knights chasing the game on Tuesday, that's when you think you should see more Jack Eichel and Mark Stone. And people were chirping me a little bit on social saying, why would you need him out there more? He's not being effective on the game. And my answer is you play him until he becomes effective on the game. Exactly. I'm sorry, but Keegan Colasar only getting 3 or 4 less minutes isn't going to do it for me. Colasar had some opportunities, couldn't finish them, but if the game's on someone's stick and the Golden Knights are down, I want to see a goal. I don't want to see Keegan Colasar out there in those sensitive moments. I want to see Eichel
Good
and
point.
Stone triple shifting with a healthy dose of Hurdle and Dorofeev.
The one thing John Hines said yesterday that really stood out to me, he said that he likes his team's poise under pressure. They have been pretty poised. They have not lost their cool. And I know VGK's tried to play bully with them, as we talked about, and Haig and all that stuff, and the Slewfoot. But they have. They've not lost their cool in this series, and that could play a big part here in the next few games.
Well, and now the Wild might have a score to settle tonight. Do they have the leadership to make a mental note of number 14 and not go after him tonight? Take a number and grab him in the next.
Oh, they're going to tease him. They're going to tease him. Yeah, they
maybe.
will.
Some people, Wild fans, pointed out as well, and we love all the road fans coming in, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter, giving us perspective and everything.
So good.
But a lot of things that I've heard from a lot of Wild fans, some VGK fans as well, has pointed this out. When the Wild were fully healthy, we're going back in the probably the first quarter of the season, because it's been that long since they've been fully
Kaprizov
healthy.
missed 40 games. He missed half the season. So
right, but they were up with the best teams as far as points in the NHL, and then the injuries.
That's right.
happened. So this is maybe the more dangerous version of last year's VGK team. That same thing, players missing large pockets of the season. All of a sudden, they're fully healthy when they come back to game one of the playoffs, but Stone and Hurdle that certainly weren't healthy enough to get going. So
yeah, but VGK, they lacked the chemistry.
They definitely lacked the chemistry. They also lacked it on Tuesday.
How do you suddenly insert like Kaprizov and Eck, and suddenly you're just they didn't miss a beat. Not
Kaprizov,
at all.
I think a lot of people forget that he's probably, as far as the best players in the world, probably among the top 5.
He is.
Maybe
he would have had a
4 or 3.
monster season this year if he didn't
right
get
there. Once you get after Kucherov, and of course after McDavid and Austin Matthews, he's got to be in that top 4 or top 5. Just he's that difference maker. He's different than Jack Eichel. Not knocking Jack Eichel, but Kaprizov's the type of player who will the team to victory, and Jack Eichel can do it a little bit differently. But superstar versus superstar, Kaprizov is the better of the two.
Coming up next, our locks and predictions for game number 3. Stay with us right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go, especially here in Vegas? This is a daily occurrence between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, so much more in this city. It is so easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It is your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start to build a lot of wealth. So surprising insights. When I started to use Monarch, I realized just how much money I spend going out on the town each and every week. So now I budget a lot smarter and I save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, this is the best part. You can now use Monarch to check your finances. You can track your spending, and you can even plan long-term goals. That's right. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals, and you can also set and stay on the same page without a lot of the stress. So take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Again, use that promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you will get 50% off of your first year. Go to monarchmoney.com. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. We are the only daily Vegas Golden Knights podcast. That's right. And thank you so much for tuning in. Record numbers are starting to come in. It is playoff time, and a lot of you are watching and listening. And tomorrow's WTF day. So come up with any kind of comment you'd like to. We are anti-mailbag. So we do WTF instead. It's a lot more fun. Just comments about anything happening with the VGK. And we'd like to hear from Minnesota Wild fans as well. So I'm going to take another walk on the wild side tonight. Another walk on the wild side, Mr. Harmonica. I am going to go 3-2 Minnesota. The VGK scoring drought continues. When they get functified, they get functified. And I'm going to go with your guy, Kolasar. I don't want to see him on the ice, but I think he scores a goal. And I'm going to go with Barbashev, whether he's on the first or fourth line. And I don't know that Cassidy's going to tinker with that top line tonight. I think Barbashev will start on the first line. And unless VGK's top line wakes up, they're going to be down in this series. And I just like right now, there is this attitude. They have the same attitude as State Run, where they're getting a little bit cocky and full of themselves. I don't like it. I seriously don't. Tone it down, VGK. Take a walk on the wild side. 3-2 Wild tonight.
I'm not sure where that would come from, the Golden Knights being full of themselves. I mean, again, championship pedigree. You're going to the dark side now as you're flapping your jaw about that. But you got so much championship pedigree behind the bench, on the ice, in the owner's box and everything. So I think the Golden Knights know what it takes. I know that they know it's not going to, they're not just going to win games because they're a recent Stanley Cup champion and they got some good players on the team. I don't agree with that. Maybe they're a little too relaxed, could be a word to use. Maybe they're a little too comfortable in the circumstances. I'll certainly concede that, but that's also experience and leadership talking right there. I think it's a close game. I've been going up and back with it. And then probably right before, while you're doing the ad read, I thought about the Golden Knights, how well they bounced back in the playoffs. Not necessarily last year against the Stars. That was just weird. But going back to the previous season when they won the Stanley Cup, I think the only time they lost multiple games in a row was the Dallas Stars series. But they had a 3-0 lead at that point. And the Stars were just playing desperate hockey. One of those games, of course, going to overtime could have gone either way when the Golden Knights had a chance to eliminate them. So going off how well they bounced back, I think we have a close game in Minnesota. I think it's a 4-3 victory. I think it's going to be a late goal about the last 4 to 5 minutes. Nick Waugh, Brandon Saad. I like Nick Waugh's ability to create space with his individual game. There's something different about Nick Waugh come playoffs where his game has elevated, and he's one of the few players able to create open ice by carrying the puck, almost like what Jack Eichel does. But the difference between Jack Eichel and Nicholas Waugh, Jack Eichel is going to do it on the perimeter and create passing lanes. Nick Waugh is maybe one move away from just this razzle-dazzle goal where he goes through 2 or 3 Wild players and gets in alone with Gustafson. So 4-3 Golden Knights, Nick Waugh, and I like Brandon Saad's game around the net lately. I think Brandon Saad scores a greasy goal tonight.
No, he has been very good around the net there. And yeah, I said Shea Theodore in the opener. I just put -2 out there. It was a disappointment. He said, hold my beer, and he was just -1. And
yeah,
then
Tony, if you would have had that take, like the game like that happened, that would have been remarkable.
I saw it coming. In other words, I did see it coming because he's just been a turnover machine, and any kind of pressure on him, and he's just going to choke it up. I'm sorry.
He's high risk, high reward. And we've seen this from Shea Theodore in the regular season, the postseason. This is not the first series where Shea Theodore's poor play has had an outcome. Now it's one game. That's the bright side. And I think I have faith in Shea. He'll simplify.
He'll be -1 tonight at the very least.
I mean, -1 if the Golden Knights win, and he has an effect on the positive side of the game too. That's fine. I mean,
he's going to have
plus
to
minus
score
doesn't matter as much anymore. Apparently, Tony, it's a thing of the past.
He's going to have to score a couple of goals. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much tuning in everywhere. Of course, our everydayers make things happen for us. Thank you so much wherever you're tuning in around the globe. Of course, tomorrow's WTF Day. Please line up your comments, anything good or bad about VGK or anything you want to say. Take good shots at us. We don't care. Chirp away. For my man, Chris Golick, I am Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. And please take care.